Hello. Um, I am going to be looking at spin-off Project Bookshelf, and I haven't actually looked at this project in a while, so I'm going to start from scratch and just read the instructions and see what I can do with it. So the first thing it says is, this only displays one book, and we want you to make an array of books. So you should have just barely learned about arrays and objects, and you should know that this is an object with the name of book. So I'm just gonna take that to my clipboard and bar so you put objects into an array and you separate them by commas. So I'm just pasting this template of sorts, and now I'm going to change the name of the book. I wonder if that'll even fit on here. So I'm changing the properties of array with the index of 1. And this is the array of index of 2. And maybe I don't like the giver that much. Haha, just kidding. It's pretty good. The book was better than the movie. Did you mean to type loop instead of book? Well, I just got rid of that name, so no, I meant to type array. Did you forget to add a comma between two parameters? Oh, no, I just need to change another name. Okay, so you notice that some stuff disappeared. That's because instead of just book.stars, I need to get into this object using the index notation. Array I is undefined. Why might that be? Start from... I think I need to stop trying to do this and start from scratch. So, what we're going to need is a for loop that goes over this array. For var I equal to 0, I less than ARAY NGTH. So now array I will be this object. So fill that color rect, the x coordinate of the book will need to be offset by this integer. So the first one, I is equal to 0, so I'm going to need 0 times, or 10 plus I times some width of the book. And I'm going to say that's about 100. That might even give me a nice buffer in between books. Did you forget to add a comma? Probably should have tried to do this project without just jumping in. I thought you were going to type an N parentheses, but you typed I. Now why would you think that? Declare an array, draw a shelf, loop over the array, set up a fill color, draw a rectangle, there we go. So now if I add more books, it should be a little bit dynamic in that they just get offset by the index because I'm adding plus I times 100. So well, before we go on, I should probably start injecting some of that other code back in there. I just got rid of fill black, and so I can do a text, but this is where you're going to need to access that index. And the x-coordinate of the text needs to also be offset by the index. Cool. Now we need to unpack the stars. Don't forget to access the index. That just means unpack the stars for a particular object in the array. It would be insensible to unpack the stars of the array because the array doesn't have a property of stars. That would be more like something. No, we don't have a property of stars for array. We have objects stored in array that have stars. So that's why you need to do that. Now what I have going on here is I have a embedded for loop and I'm using the same variable. So this is within the scope of this loop, the thing that I want to loop over. So I'm going to need to bring that out here. Well, I could probably figure out a way to do it in there, but and then I'm going to need to change all of these to some other letter so it doesn't get confused about I's and J's. So the thing should be the number of stars, whatever number you happen to put in here. I should probably keep it between 1 and 5, but whatever. Now, all of these stars, you can tell how this has a really thick color right here and this has a really light color around it. That's because there's more books with the lower stars, and these stars have alpha channel coloring around them. a transparency. So if you have a whole bunch of transparent layers over the top of each other, then that just fills up and turns it into a solid. So we need to, essentially what I was trying to say is we need to offset the stars. So how did we offset the stars before? This. And where's the x coordinate of the image? Image variable x. So it says 13 plus I. Well, that's not the number that we want. We need j now because we're inside here. And we also need to add the offset to get it to plus I to get it to where our book is. So 13 plus I plus j and plus their scaling factors. This 20 is the distance between the beginning of one star and the beginning of the next. This 100, beginning of the book, beginning of the next book. Hope that makes sense. Doesn't seem to be drawing right unless I had one with 1 in it. Let's get some sensible numbers. So that this doesn't draw over the next book. And now you can tell that it's actually drawing the stars where you want them. Add an author property to each book and display the author below the title. So each of these curly braces, sets of curly braces, delineates a book. And within 2 curly braces, you have property name, and property value pairs separated by commas. So within each book I need to add another comma and an author property. I have no idea who wrote any of these books because I made up half of them and I just don't know this guy. But the point is, you're just going to have to add another thing to this for loop that's looping over the arrays. And why don't we go ahead and extract the thing that we're looking at, and I'll name this something more sensible. Good variable names will carry you a long ways, a very long ways. If you come back and look at this program and you're trying to fix some kind of glitch and you have a variable name like the thing, you're going to be like, why did I do that to myself? I have no idea what the thing is anymore. That was months ago. I wonder if I could use the keyword this. Did you notice how when I typed in this, it turned blue? That's a keyword. That would be a very bad variable name. But, so this would refer to I better not. Onward. Array I.author. So the ith book's author property will be that string. Oops. Set up a fill color. looks like about, oh, I don't know, 70. We'll just change it if that's bad. Yeah. Add a new property to each object to store a color using the color command. Use that to fill each book differently. Or maybe store an image? What? Store an image? Oh, as opposed to coloring them. We'll go ahead and add a color property. So color is a reserved word, just like this. You wouldn't want to name your properties color. So I like to use COL, which is short for color in my mind. And instead of, there's a lot of different ways you could do this. You could have like an array of color values. Hopefully by now you know that colors are three. Well, there's different ways, but by default they're just three numbers in the RGB color space between 0 and 255. So green, some hue of green might look like that, some particular hue of green. And just like I didn't need a semicolon anywhere else, I wouldn't need a semicolon here. So this would be an array with three numbers, and then in the fill, once I unpack that, I would just be like col 0, col 1, col 2. But instead, there's an even simpler way, and I'll use that reserved word color. And get that hue of green set up, and this function will return that particular color as a variable that you can store, just like how for and IDK are variables, strings. There's a color data type, there's a num data type, a string data type, a color data type, and it just makes things a whole lot simpler to use that color function to set up color data. I'm actually not wanting that at the bottom of the for loop. I need that to be right here so that it colors the books that particular color. Ooh, that looks neat. Add a Boolean property to each book. So we just got done with 1, 2, and 3, and now right here, like whether you would recommend it to friends, and use a conditional inside the loop to draw something different depending on whether the Boolean is true or false. We might as well do that and just combine them into one thing. I'm going to add some image variables up here. So that was already set up when you started this project. That image variable was right in here. And instead of calling getImage all the time, it's good to set up variables up top and then use their variable name in the image function. People usually will see comments, "This is where I store all my images." So I'm going to get some more images. So a blue leaf is going to be for if I would recommend it to my friends, and a red leaf is going to be for wouldn't recommend, because I like the color blue a whole lot more than I like the color red. No offense to you red lovers, but that's just me. So each book object I'm going to give an image property, and I'm either going to store a red leaf or a blue leaf image. What is happening? My computer just glitched the heck out. Maybe I ought to save. So maybe okay, so the 1-star one is going to be the red leaf. It's a crappy programming book written by a dummy. So did you mean to type red leaf instead of red leaf? Oh. I just forgot to capitalize that. When people put multiple words into a variable name, they sometimes will use an underscore to separate the words. You can't use a space, so this is called like the camelback method or something. Is it like a capital letter in the middle of a word, like sort of reminded somebody of like the humps in a camel. So I can't remember what that method's called, but it's got some funny name about camels. What are we trying to do? Add a Boolean property to each book about whether or not you would recommend it, and then a conditional looking at the bool in the loop. So now we've got those images. So false, because this is the red leaf and all the other ones are going to be true. So now I just need to use that bool to decide whether or not to display a red or a blue leaf. Or theoretically, I mean, you should just be able to, like, there's no point to have a bool, because you could just say image this leaf or whatever. But so instead of doing that, I'm not gonna draw leaves for every book. I'm going to use the conditional and look at the bool And if the bool is false, meaning I dislike the book, then I'm going to draw the leaf over the book. So array I dot yes is the bool. If not array I dot yes, so if that bool is false, whoops. Semicolons in these are bad. Cool. It drew the red leaf over the book. Maybe I don't like this book, but as much. I wouldn't recommend it. It's only a 3-star. But it's still got a blue leaf. Because it's not so bad. But I'll switch this to false. So I don't recommend either of these books, so I'll draw their leaf. But this one is not so bad, so I'll draw a blue leaf. Accidentally resizing the text form. Now add more books and use the loop to draw more shelves down the canvas. Think about how you can use conditionals and/or the mod operator to do that. Okay, so here's the shelf. So we're going to have to move this inside of the loop. And last time I did this project, I remember I set up some variables outside of it. So each time I increases, that is going to give your loop program an idea of where it's at. So I is 0, I is 1, I is 2, I is 3. So once I is 3 or is greater than 3, then I increase the y variable. So yeah, I think I want a y variable. I'll call it shelf y for the y coordinate of the shelf, and I forgot what the shelf was originally at, so it was originally at 120. And then I'll put that code in the loop and make it depend on y. But if I mod 3, if I is a multiple of 3, then increase shelf y. I'll put one of these outside the loop so it draws once at 120. If I is a multiple of 3, so 0, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to draw this book when I is a multiple of 3. So before that, no, after that. I'll just change it if it's wrong. Now to test it out, let's get some more books. I can't remember if I said this already, but like in your project for like the creativity, you probably ought to be naming these all various books. Oh, I didn't have a way of wrapping the books around yet, so of course I'm not seeing more books. I just doubled the number of books in my array, and I was like, why aren't they wrapping around? Putting more caused more shelves to draw, but now I need the books are being drawn right here, and I think there's a way to do this with mod, but another way that I find easier to understand is so the book Y starts out at this, and every single iteration of the loop after I draw the books, I'm going to increase the book Y value. So that's doing the exact same thing as whatever plus I times 100, except that, well, I think they actually started out at 10, because I just erased 10 plus I times 100. So now it's doing the exact same thing, but it's not depending on I, and I have access to this variable that I can modify. So to get them to wrap around, I need to, every time I is a multiple of 400, I need to reset this variable. And I need to make the books depend on shelf Y. Interesting. I'll have to make the text also depend on these variables. But I need to figure out why. Shelf Y starts out at 120. That's this coordinate. I think that instead of trying to figure out this garbage, I'll set up a whole new variable. Oh wow, book Y. What am I doing? I want book X. That's a bad variable, man. That's a very bad variable, man. Okay, now I'm going to set up a one for the y value. It's in this loop that I want to increase the y value, so I don't know why I put that in there. Really should have reviewed this project. Sorry, hope you're still sticking with me. So every loop I want to increase the x variable. Let's see how this does. Book Y starts out at 10. This is probably freaking out on the first loop, and I not equal to 0. But once I is 4, then book Y should increase. Definitely should have increased once, and it did, and it made it 130, so those next few books should have been drawn with a new y value. I didn't reset it anywhere, did I? Well, maybe the program's glitching out. So theoretically, my value should have wrapped around and started drawing books with a new y value. Maybe they're... Hate to tell you this, but this is half of what programming is just debugging. I mean, there could be something wrong with my template, so that after the 0, 1, 2, 3, now printing this out just told me something in and of itself. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 books being drawn to the screen. 1, 2, 3, 4 books have a book Y value of 10, so that means it's not wrapping around right. So that means that I did this part wrong. And now I've created even more problems for myself. I should probably stop recording this, but I think maybe it's good to see somebody trying to debug things. It's a little bit embarrassing for me, but it might be beneficial to you, my viewers. So I just keep at this. So it's good, for example, to like talk through things. So like talk to yourself about how the program works. Shelf Y is 120. I was mistakenly using that as a variable, so I'll go through and see where that is used. That's used to draw the shelf right there. It's increased in the mod operation once I is a certain value. For example, when I is equal to 3, then the shelf Y increases. So where else is it used? There's the draw again, and it's not used anywhere else, so that can't be my problem. Go up to the top of the program, click on there, go down. That's the very first place that variable shows up, and the very next place is in the for loop after the mod parameter. After the fill is set up, I'm drawing the books. Book X starts out at 10, that's what I initialized it to, so that's where this is being drawn. As I increases, book X increases. So when I is 0, book X is 10. When I is 1, book X got increased to 110 that last loop, so I1 is drawn at 110. Book X increases to 210. I increases to 0, 1, 2. I is 2. I is 3. Book X should be 300. And if you can't talk it through, then get the program to just tell you what it's doing using prints. I0, 10, I1, 110, I2, 210, I3, 310, I4, it's not setting book X. I thought I had that being set to 0. Now, why did I have to set that back to 3? So that's wrapping around at the correct value such that I3 is right there, and then I4. Do I have a white book? Why is that happening? Because the Y values are screwed up. I have made a mess for myself. For some reason I thought I had to, earlier in the video I remember putting that from 4 to 3. That was obviously a mistake. So let's get a little bit more order here. I'm going to put the incrementations right here. And then draw a shelf right here. I'm going to do a Control F and find any prints. Now, these are blank books, but that's, as I mentioned before, because I need all of this other stuff to depend on book X and book Y, instead of, as we originally set up the program, to depend on I. So wherever I have a plus I, let's see, fill, color the book, draw the book, increase X. This is an incrementer that would make more sense to have at the bottom of the loop. This is going to turn into a half-an-hour movie. Alright. Text needs to depend on book X and book Y, so I think that let's just try replacing this with book X. Book Y told it the top it's 29 marking. Okay, we're looking at this text and it's being drawn at 29. Book Y is the coordinate of this point right here. So I need book Y plus, I don't know, like 5 minus 29. And those are surprisingly, oh wait, this number right here is telling you how far to offset that. I think I want them a little bit further over. Loop the stars. Okay, 13 is how far to offset. J is this. I'm not going to mess with J. I'm going to put book X in place of here. Not even sure why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm just looking at the results over here and not trying to like heuristically justify the numbers that I'm putting over there. The author I just know that I need that shifted down, so I'm just gonna put +1 and then adjust it till it's below all of the titles. Whoa! Stop that. I hate it when a slider bar freaks out. That looks pretty good to me. The images, the leaps and whatnot. See, I let go of the mouse and it's still adjusting that number. It's supposed to stop selecting it, so I need to click in here somewhere, reselect that, and drag again. I'm moving the mouse and it's not increasing it. So I think it has something to do with this canvas. Like once you get your mouse over this canvas, then this text box like loses control over that mouse variable. Yeah, keeping the mouse out of the canvas like really helps with adjusting that number. I like the way that looks, so I'll leave that. Add more books and use the loop to draw more shelves down the canvas. Think about how you can use the conditionals and or the mod operator to do that. That's what we just finished, so I think I'm done. Hope that helped some people, and thanks for watching.